diagnosis of pregnancy. Okay. So, what is the duration of pregnancy? Actually the duration of pregnancy is usually expressed in terms of gestational age or the menstrual age, which is actually calculated from first day of the last menstrual period. So from that LMP, which is the first day of last menstrual period, you add 9 calendar months plus 7 days or 280 days or 40 weeks. Okay. So apart from this, there is ovulatory age or the fertilization age, which is actually more important in cases of in vitro fertilization, and embryologists use it more often. So fertilization age is actually true gestation period, because the fertilization usually occurs 14 days prior to the expected missed period in a previously normal cycle. Okay, so subtracting this 14 days from 280 days actually becomes the fertilization age. So the pregnancy is divided into 3 trimesters. First trimester is till 12 weeks of gestation. The second trimester starts from 13 weeks to 28 weeks of gestation, while the third and the last trimester starts from 29 weeks onwards and end till 40 weeks. So the the subjective symptoms, or the symptoms which patient will tell you according to trimester wise are as follows. In first trimester, first of all, the patient comes to you with the chief complaint of cessation of menses or amenorrhea. Okay, and it is highly suggestive of pregnancy in a healthy reproductive aged woman who previously had experienced a regular cycle. The amenorrhea is not reliable indication until 10 days or more after expected menses onset has taken place. Okay, so if she has missed her periods for more than or equal to 10 days, then yes, you will suspect pregnancy, but but if it is less than 10 days, then you should wait. Cyclical bleeding may occur up to 12 weeks of gestation in a pregnant female, because until then decidual space is obliterated by a fusion of Deciduea vera and Deciduea capsularis. So this spotting or bleeding, which can be mimicked as a threatened abortion, is called as placental sign. Okay, but you should not be confused with threatened abortion, because in threatened abortion, first of all, there will be cervical changes as well, and patient will give a history of pain in abdomen, or any history of associated history like the history of MTP pill intake, etc. can be elicited in these patients. Okay. So apart from these symptoms, other symptoms can be morning sickness, which is very common, usually present in 50% of the cases, and it is more often in primary gravidas. It usually lasts till 12 to 16 weeks of pregnancy, then the frequency decreases, but it may last up to it may recur in second or third trimester as well. The intensity varies from person to person. It is more intense during the morning time when the patient just rises from the bed. Along with that, there's loss of appetite or even vomiting can occur. So next symptom can be frequency of micturition, which is usually troublesome between 8 to 12 weeks. And what is the cause? The main etiology behind it, that the bulky uterus usually rests on the fundus of the bladder, so it directly causes a direct pressure on the bladder, which increases the frequency of micturition. Apart from that, there can be it can be due to increased congestion of the bladder mucosa or change in maternal osmoregulation. Breast discomfort, in which the patient can feel heaviness or fullness or pricking sensation, which is evident as early as 6 to 8 weeks, and fatigue is very common in early pregnancy. The breast changes usually starts from 6 to 8 weeks and are more prominent in primary gravidas. breast enlargement occurs along with vascular engorgement. Visible veins under the skin can be seen. Primary areola with nipple and the areola becomes more pigmented. And there is formation of secondary areola as well. There is another rim of pigmentation which occurs around the primary areola, which is called the secondary areola. Montgomery tubercles are formed, and also colostrum secretion can be seen as early as 12 weeks. So these are the breast changes. As you can see, in early pregnancy, there is pigmentation increases in the primary areola, while in late pregnancy, you can see there is formation of another rim, which is again pigmented, which is the formation of secondary areola. Apart from that, Montgomery tubercles can also be visualized, which are actually the dilated sebaceous glands. So the objective signs, that is the signs which as a clinician you will find in these patients are the per abdomen findings. You can see that uterus will be enlarged, but it will not be enlarged more than 12 weeks. So it can just be felt as a suprapubic bulge in first trimester. Along with that, there are various pelvic changes which are given various signs. So here we'll be discussing one by one. First of all, it is the Jacquemus or the Chadwick sign. It is usually visible at about 8 weeks of pregnancy and is due to increased vascularity in the pelvic area. So there is a husky dew of vestibule and the anterior vaginal wall is visible, and it is more pronounced in primary gravidas, and it is due to local vascular congestion, which is termed as Chadwick sign. Apart from the bluish discoloration of anterior vaginal wall, there are various other vaginal signs as well, like softening of the vaginal walls. There is increased copious mucoid discharge, which appears as early as 6 weeks. Increased pulsations can be felt through the lateral fornices. Also can be this also can be seen at around 8 weeks and is termed as Posciender sign. So these were the vaginal signs. Now coming on to the cervical signs, in which you can find that as early as 6 weeks of gestation, cervix also becomes very soft, and this is called as Goodell sign. Okay, so whenever you do a pervaginal examination, you will, if the cervix is very soft, it is said that you can feel it. The consistency of the cervix becomes as like the consistency of your lips. Okay, while in non-pregnant females, when you feel a cervix, it feels like the tip of your nose. So it is more firmer in a non-pregnant, while it becomes softer in a pregnant female. Along with that, there is bluish discoloration of the cervix also, which you can appreciate in speculum examination. Again, it is due to increased vascularity. These type of changes can also be seen in patients who are taking estrogen and progesterone combined oral contraceptive pills. And as the pregnancy progresses, the external cervical os and the cervical canal may become sufficiently patulous to admit fingertip. However, the internal os remains closed. So these were the vaginal and the cervical changes. Then uterine changes. In uterine signs, this can be appreciated during first few weeks of the pregnancy, in which the uterine size usually increases but is limited to increase anteroposteriorly more. Okay, so by 12 weeks, the body of the uterus becomes almost globular in shape with an average diameter of 8 centimeter. So while on bimanual examination, you can feel a globular structure, okay, which is extremely soft. So here you can appreciate Hegar's sign, which is a uterine sign. Okay, it can be appreciated between 6 to 10 weeks, in which when you while bimanual examination, if you insert 2 fingers in the anterior fornix and the other hand on the abdomen, that is abdominal finger is placed behind the uterus. Okay, then if you try to approximate both the hands, the abdominal and vaginal fingers seem to oppose below the body of the uterus. Why is this appreciated? Because the fetus usually is implanted in upper part of the uterus, okay, and the lower part of the uterus is empty here and is again the stomach part is soft. So at the stomach part, when you try to approximate below the fundus, you can approximate the vaginal and abdominal fingers, and thus you can feel the globular structure of the uterus. So this is called as Higgins sign. So another sign here is the Palmer sign, which is appreciated in same manner. The examination is done like the same in this as bimanual examination. But in Palmer sign, yes, you can feel the irregular and rhythmic uterine contractions, which can be elicited during the bimanual examination and can be seen as early as 4 to 6 weeks. But as the pregnancy progresses, the rhythmic contraction usually decreases, like the relaxation period of these contraction increases. So these were the subjective and the objective findings which you can see. Okay, so now coming on to how to confirm this pregnancy. So there are various tests, various immunological tests which you can do, the laboratory test actually, which you can just do to confirm the pregnancy. Okay, so the basic principle behind these tests are that it depends on the detection of beta HCG. HCG is human chorionigonadotrophic hormone. This usually consists of two subunits, alpha and beta subunit. So the alpha subunit is identical to other hormones like LH hormone, FSH and TSH, while the beta HCG is specific to the pregnancy. Okay, so here we detect only the beta HCG, the beta subunit of HCG, which is usually found in maternal urine or serum, which is produced by trophoblastic cells. Now, what is HCG? It is a glycoprotein which have a high carbohydrate content. The molecule is a heterodimer composed of alpha and beta subunits. The HCG prevents the involution of corpus luteum, that is, it maintains corpus luteum, which is the principal site of progesterone formation during the first 6 weeks of the pregnancy. Okay, and this with a sensitive if these tests are very sensitive, and with the sensitive test, the hormone can be detected in maternal plasma or urine by as early as 8 to 9 days after the ovulation. Okay, the doubling time remains 1.4 to 2 days, and serum HCG level increases from day to day. Okay, it increases from day of implantation. It actually increases exponentially and reaches a peak at around 60 to 70 days. Okay, and that is the peak period, and then it slowly declines and reaches a nadir at around 16 weeks and then plateaus. So here you can see that the HCG usually increases. It is at peak around 12 weeks, then keeps on decreasing, and the nadir is around 16 weeks, after which HCG plateaus. Until the last week of the pregnancy, the HCG remains low, okay, at a constant level. So there are various tests. There are immunoassays without isotopes or immunoassays with radioisotopes. These are the various tests. Without isotopes, the tests are using latex agglutination inhibition test and direct agglutination test, which is the HCG direct test. And there are ELISA tests, which are very sensitive. These are enzymatic immunosorbent assays tests and fluoroimmunoassays tests. These are also very sensitive. And immunoassays with radioisotopes, various tests like radioimmunoassays or immunoradiometric assays. So measurement of beta HCGs, usually what we do in this test are that antibodies were developed with high sensitivity, are developed to high sensitivity to these beta subunit of HCG. Okay, so the commonly employed technique is the sandwich type immunoassay, which we use as the membrane ELISA or the CAR test, which we use very commonly. With this test, what we do is a monoclonal antibody against the beta subunit is bound to a solid phase support. Okay, this attached antibody is then exposed to and binds to HCG, which is present in the serum or the urine sample when we put the urine sample of the patient. A second antibody is then attached to sandwich this bound HCG. So there is a color change, or which can be appreciated visually. In some assays, the second antibody is linked to the enzyme such as alkaline phosphatase. When substrate for enzyme is added, a color develops. The intensity of this color is proportional to the amount of enzyme present in the urine or the serum, and thus the amount of the second antibody. The sensitivity of these lab detection tests are very high and can detect are sensitive as low as 1 milli international unit per ml of HCG. The home pregnancy kits which are used have a false negative results, and they're around 75% sensitive, and they can detect around 12.5 milli international unit per ml of HCG. And elevated HCGs can also reflect other pathologies like molar pregnancies and maybe associated of pregnancy tests which you could be asked are, first of all, yes, to detect a intrauterine pregnancy. These tests are used. Apart from that, diagnosis of ectopic pregnancy, monitoring of pregnancy in vitro fertilization, and embryo transfer, and these tests, that is the level, these all are done in follow-up cases actually, to follow up the cases of carcinomas. So sonographic, apart from the immunological tests, clinical tests, you can opt for ultrasonography as well. So sonographic recognition of pregnancy, in which you can see a gestational sac, which is seen as a small anechoic fluid collection within the endometrial cavity. And it is the first sonographic evidence of the pregnancy, and it can be seen by transvaginal ultrasonography as early as by 4 to 5 weeks of gestation. Okay, so other potential indicators of early pregnancy are anechoic center surrounded by a single echogenic rim. So first of all, what happens? You just see a gestational sac, which is an anechoic fluid collection in the endometrial cavity. Then you find a single echogenic rim around this gestational sac, which is called as intradecidual sign. Okay, after this, around 6 weeks, you will find there will be two concentric rings which surround the G-sac, which is called the dual decidual signs. Double decidual sign. In the second picture, lower right picture. Hello? Hello?
Excuse me, ma'am, your voice is interrupting.
Okay. Am I audible now clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible now.
Okay. Okay. So in second picture, where you can see,
Ma'am, please
you can
repeat last
appreciate what
slide.
is actually last slide.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I'll come again to the recognition of pregnancy. Okay, so what you see in ultrasound is the first and foremost sign which you see in ultrasonography is the gestational sac, which can be seen as early as 4 to 5 weeks by transvaginal sonography. The gestational sac is seen as an anechoic fluid collection. Like here in first picture, you can see gestational sac, which is the anechoic fluid collection. Then after around 1 to 2 weeks, you can see there will be a single echogenic rim around this gestational sac. Okay, so that is called as the decidual reaction. And around again around 1 to 2 weeks later, that is around 6 weeks, you will find a double decidual sac sign, which is, and the sign can be seen as early as 5 weeks. And what you see here is two echogenic signs. The outer is the decidua and the inner one is the chorion. Okay. So basically the double decidual sign is defined by the decidua parietalis and decidua capsularis. If the yolk sac is here you can appreciate, see, by 4 to 5 weeks there is a small intrauterine fluid correction. Then around 5 to 5.5 weeks you can see a yolk sac, which is an unequivocal sign of pregnancy. And by 6 weeks you can see a small embryo adjacent to the yolk sac. And by 8 weeks actually you can see a embryo along with the amnion as well. Okay. So the yolk sac, seen as a brightly echogenic ring with an anechoic center, is seen within the gestational sac, and intrauterine location of pregnancy is confirmed. The yolk sac can be normally seen by mid of 5th week. Cardiac motion, which is very important to confirm a live pregnancy, can be seen as early as 6 weeks. So we wait until 6 weeks of period of gestation to confirm the cardiac activity of the fetus. And up to 12 weeks of gestation, the CRL, that is the crown lump length, can be appreciated. Right, which can appreciate the decidua parietalis and the decidua bassalis along with decidua capsularis. So these were the signs in the first trimester of the pregnancy. Then how, if the patient comes to you in second trimester, what all symptoms and signs will you find? First of all, obviously she will give you a history of amenorrhea, cessation of menses. Then morning sickness can be present till early second trimester. Okay, but the urinary symptoms usually decreases. That is, the frequency of micturition may or may not, she will give the history. Quickening will be present. Quickening is appreciated at around 18 to 20 weeks in primigravidas and earlier in multigravidas. Abdominal enlargement, you can feel the abdomen parabdominally because it will be more than 12 weeks. So you can also appreciate the breast changes, secondary alveolar formation at tubercles can be seen in the secondary alveola, and colostrum secretion, which can be or cannot be appreciated in these patients, along with their variable degree of striatum. So on abdominal examination, which is more important in second and third trimester. First of all, coming on to the inspection, you will be seeing a linea nigra. What is linea nigra? It is a linear pigmented zone which extends from pubic symphysis to the ensiform cartilage, and it may appear as early as 20 weeks. Stria gravidum, which are the pink and the white stretch marks which are seen in the lower abdomen and are more appreciated towards the flanks. So these are the stria and the linea nigra. Now on palpation, fundal height, which is very important. Fundal height is due to increased uterine size, basically due to progressive enlargement of the gravid uterus, and it is measured in centimeters from pubic symphysis to the topmost portion of the uterus. Now, examiner may ask you why you are measuring to the topmost portion of the uterus. Why not from topmost of the portion of the uterus to pubic symphysis? So, as the pubic symphysis is a fixed point, so you always start it from the pubic symphysis because it is a fixed point. And what you do is fundal height, you always mark it and then you measure it. Okay. So, approximate duration of the pregnancy can be ascertained by noting down fundal height. The uterus is abdominally felt. It can be soft and elastic. Braxton Hicks contraction, which are the false intermittent painless contraction, which can be appreciated on per abdominal examination. Fetal parts can be made out at around 20 weeks and more, and fetal movements can also be felt, and external benoitment can be elicited at around 20 weeks through abdominal examination. Auscultation by of fetal heart sounds can be done by now Pinat stethoscope we don't use. We do the auscultation now by ultrasound fetal Doppler. It is an instrument in which you can digitally see the heart sound as well, and you can hear it as well. Okay. Auscultation can of the fetal heart sound can be actually mistaken with the fetal souffle, uterine souffle, which is the uterine artery blood flow. So you can it can happen that you feel that is FHS, but that is the uterine souffle. So it is very important to take maternal pulse as well. So if the heart sounds which you are listening through per abdomen examination and maternal pulse are the same, okay, so you are accidentally measuring uterine souffle, which you should keep in mind. On vaginal examination, as I told you the earlier signs, due to increased pelvic congestion, you can see bluish discoloration of vagina, vulva and cervix. Internal ballottement can also be elicited between 16 to 8. On investigations, sonography, ultrasonography, yes, we do a second trimester scan as well, which is the most important scan in whole pregnancy, which detects the gross, which we do at around 18 to 20 weeks, which is the level 2 scan or the gross anomaly scan. Along with that, fetal anatomy in these scans, placental localization, integrity of the cervix, cervical length. Gestational age can also be determined by measuring various parameters. Fetal organ anatomy to be detected for any malformation. Fetal viability to be ascertained by confirming the cardiac activity. So coming on to the third trimester, if patient directly comes to you in third trimester or you examine a patient in third trimester, yes, amenorrhea still persists, or patient will give you a history of amenorrhea. Enlargement of abdomen can be seen, which usually corresponds to the period of gestation or period of amenorrhea. Enlargement of abdomen can lead to discomfort of the patient. She can give you a history of palpitations or dyspnea during exertion. And sense of relief or pressure can be observed in late third trimesters after 38 weeks when the engagement occurs, when the fetal presenting part engages inside the pelvic cavity. The frequency of micturition again reappears due to direct pressure. Fetal movements are more pronounced in these stages. So signs here, you can see the cutaneous changes which become more prominent. The pigmentation becomes more intense. The stria are increased in number and pigmented. Uterine shape becomes changes from cylindrical to spherical beyond 36 weeks. Here you have to appreciate the fundal height, which is which I actually already told you. The fundal height is the distance between the umbilicus and the fundal height is actually the height of the uterus, okay, which is expressed in terms of weeks of gestation. So the distance between umbilicus and ensiform cartilage is divided into three parts. The junction of upper and middle third at 32 weeks, level of the ensiform cartilage, which is the topmost the point, that is given 36 weeks, and what happens after 36 weeks, engagement occurs. Okay, so there is descent of presenting part into the pelvis. So this fundal height actually decreases after 36 weeks. So you can actually, how would you confirm a 36 weeks pregnancy, whether it's a pregnancy beyond 36 weeks or it is a 32 weeks pregnancy, for example, because the fundal height actually will decrease after 36 weeks due to engagement. So here you have to see for the flank fullness. Okay, so whenever you feel a flanks are full and the period of gestation is corresponding to whatever more than 36 weeks, yes, then you can confirm it is a pregnancy beyond 36 weeks. And if you find a patient with fundal height, for example 32 weeks, and the flanks are not full, then it will be a pregnancy of less than 36 weeks. So this is how you differentiate between pregnancy beyond 36 weeks or around less than 36 weeks. Okay. So upper part of the fundus is how do you measure symphyzofundal height? It is another important parameter. It is actually measured with the upper border of the at the upper border of the fundus by the ulnar border of the left hand, and that point is actually marked. So now you take the distance between the symphysis pubis up to the point should be on the patient side. That is, it should be touching skin. Okay, and after 24 weeks, the symphyzofundal height is measured in centimeters, which corresponds to the number of weeks of gestation up to 36 weeks. So symphyzofundal is 24 to 36 weeks. And apart from that, on per abdomen, you can feel the Braxton Hicks contraction. Fetal movements can be easily seen. Palpation of fetal parts are much more easier, and FHS can be heard distinctly. Here also, third trimester sonography is done for fetal growth assessment. And what all things we see in ultrasonography is amniotic fluid volume, which can give you assessment of differential diagnosis of pregnancy, which can be uterine fibroid, cystic ovarian tumors, and cystic tubercle peritonitis, hematometra, distended urinary bladder, or pseudocyesis, which is the false pregnancy. Thank you. Okay, then any one of you have any questions, or will be signing off?
इन चैडविक साइन थोड़ा डाउटफुल है.
Chadwick sign you did not understand, I explained.
Yes, ma'am.
Basically, what you see, it is a sign which you see during per speculum examination. Okay, so the vaginal walls are a bit congested, so you can see the blurred discoloration of interior vagina, which is more specific. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So if you see the walls, so that is basically that.